Hello, and welcome back to the Musical Transformation Seminar. I'm Jason Faust, and welcome to our next video. Today we're going to be talking about the power of groove music. Oh, such an amazing genre. We're talking funk, soul, R&B, disco, hip hop, music from the United States of America that is now spread around the world. It is a melting pot and mix of so many different amazing styles and flavors, and it is just such a fun, upbeat type of style of music that so many people love around the world. Now, the first question we can ask ourselves is, why is groove so powerful? And talking about the word groove, we're referring to this feeling. It's a feeling within our body. It's something that we hear. It's something that we express. It's something that we play on our instruments or sing. Groove is just this, non-tangible, wonderful aspect of music that really encourages the body to move and dance, that encourages us to feel joyful, and is just such a powerful force of positivity in the world of music. So that's all we're going to talk about today is groove music. And I'm so excited because this is absolutely one of my favorite things to talk about. So let's jump right in. Now, when we're talking about groove music, the first thing that you think of when you think of groove is dancing, right? And that is such a cool thing to think about because as musicians, it is our job, it's our duty when we're on stage to assist people with sounds that will encourage them to dance, right? And when we're on stage performing, if the crowd isn't moving and grooving, there's something that we definitely need to change and adjust to get them moving and grooving, right? It all comes down to the energy. And groove is a medium for letting energy move forward in a really fun and positive way. So let's kind of break this down. Groove music is really, really big in party environments, right? We're talking about live music venues. We're talking about big stages. We're talking about festivals. We're talking about even when you're listening at home and dancing and having your own little, home party, whatever it may be, right? Party, 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 groove, groove, groove. You think of these great bands that are out there that still exist, those that don't exist anymore, and those that are going to exist, right? And they're dedicated to just grooving hard. Now, when we say groove, it's a very general term, right? It's a very broad thing because there are so many different types of grooves and so many different styles, right? But the general basic root of groove is a feeling, an emotion, a force of nature in the universe that encourages the body to move, that encourages the head to bob, right? That encourages us to really just feel a rhythm, right? Groove and rhythm are interrelated, of course. So let's kind of come back to this party environment, right? So many people love to go out and party. And us being in the world of music and in the world of entertainment, it's our job when we're on stage to entertain our crowd that wants to party, if that's the world we're in, right? So music's role is really creating a vehicle for enjoyment and enjoying life. It's such a wonderful career path is to be able to give someone else an experience where they can enjoy themselves. I mean, it's just so refreshing. Um, I live in Europe, and here in Europe, the culture is so surrounded around joy and enjoyment of life on the daily. It's so wonderful. People are always outside, whether it's having a little coffee and breakfast in the morning, or a late afternoon lunch, or a wonderful dinner. People are out in the patios at the cafes, just enjoying themselves. And that's one aspect of enjoyment. And the other aspect of enjoyment is people go out regularly and are listening to live music, are, maybe going to a party, are seeking something to do just for the purpose of enjoyment. And, around the world this happens. But what I love about European culture is it's a regular part of life. And that is so wonderful because it's a healthy way to perceive and to live your life in terms of really enjoying the moment, right? And music plays a huge role in that, right? So, coming back to this party environment, all these people that love to go out and party around the world, they're looking for music to dance to, right? So, us as the musician that would be providing the entertainment for the night, it is our job, it is our duty to make sure that the crowd is being entertained, that the crowd is dancing and enjoying and laughing, right? And, interacting with each other. So, the question we can then ask, if that's the goal, if that's the objective, how do we do this? How do we accomplish this with great success and at a very high level, right? You can think about the greatest bands that groove and what made them so amazing, right? Earth, Wind, and Fire, right? Prince and the Revolution. I mean, Parliament Funkadelic. There are so many, amazing bands and artists that have existed and exist, and even now, we have Wolfpack, that have found this formula that works, right? Because number one, they're very skilled at what they do. They know what they're doing. And number two, they're having fun while they're doing it. And number three, they're connecting with their fans. They're connecting with their audience in a really authentic way, right? And how that relates to groove is, we can start with, let's kind of break this down. We can start with what's called the pulse, right? And I feel the reason that the pulse is so powerful is because it's a steady beat movement of energy, right? That is tied to a tempo, a steady tempo. And when you have a pulse, whether it comes from the kick drum, right, most of the time, if you have some kind of pulse and it's reinforced by 2 and 4 on the snare, right, reinforced by a groovy bass line, right, you have that foundational pulse groove. The reason that people can connect to it so wonderfully and so easily is because it's directly connected to the heartbeat of our body, right? If you think about it, within the body, we have, you know, systems within our body that are in rhythm, right? Our blood circulates through our veins and our arteries in rhythm, right? Our heart pumps in rhythm, right? We have, neurons firing in rhythm from our brain to many different parts of our body, all so fast, right? We walk in rhythm. We speak in a certain rhythm, right? Rhythm is a natural aspect of the universe, and the pulse of the groove is that thumping foundational thing that just feels good to connect with, right? So you could think about, a DJ spinning house music and you hear that, right? Or a live band performing and you hear the drums doing it, right? That is such an important element to have. It needs to be very steady, it needs to be very strong, it needs to be in time, right? And it needs to have some feeling and emotion to it, right? So that's the drums, and the other important part of groove in the drums is what's called the pocket, right? The pocket is powerful. Let's talk about the pocket. Now, the wonderful thing about playing with a live drummer is that the pocket is going to be organically human, right? When you're playing with a drummer, you know, they are playing to a groove, they're playing a pocket that is authentically them. It's their expression, their human expression, right? So it's going to feel good if they're a good drummer that can play in time and that can play in the style well, right? And then, of course, you could have that really strict, more electronic type of groove that is also steady and in that style is also super driving, right? So that's the first aspect is pulse and groove. Now, there are other aspects to groove. We can think about other instruments in a live context, right? Like the bass guitar first. The bass guitar plays very specific rhythms that interlocks with the pocket of the drums. Boom, right? Whatever it may be, the bass player, of course, plays the harmony of the chord changes of the song, but also chooses rhythms and chooses accents to accentuate that interlock with what the drummer is playing. And that's very important for the bass and the drums to be locked in the groove, right? And that creates a really strong foundation for the other layers to then, be stacked upon. So let's keep breaking it down. We have the pocket of the drums, the pulse, right? We have that strong foundational bass line. And then on top of that, you have other rhythm section instruments like the guitar Now, if we're talking about the funk genre, you know, usually the guitar is doing some type of really, funky, groovy strum pattern to the chords of the song, right? You hear all types of great guitarists doing this, like Prince, right? Like Corey Wong. And that creates another element. Like, imagine that the drums and the bass are like the floor of a house, and then the guitar might be, one wall, right? Then the other wall can be the piano or the keyboard or the synthesizers, right? And those are creating atmospheres a lot of the time. Sometimes it can be very rhythmic in the piano and the keyboard, right? Interlocking with what the other rhythm section instruments are doing. And other times it can be much more flowing, you know, really painting the picture of the harmony and using the sustain pedal to let it ring, right? And that kind of flows through with like this glossy color that paints this kind of atmosphere around what the other instruments are doing a bit more rhythmically, right? And it's a beautiful combination, right? So that's typically what happens in the rhythm section. And then, of course, there can be other layers, right? On top of that, in a live band setting, you usually will also have some type of horn section, right? And this is my favorite. I'm a trumpet player. I love arranging for horns. Oh, for all those other horn players out there, you know that when you have a tight, crisp horn section, it could even be two horns. It could be three horns. It could be more. But when that horn section is tight and they are playing in the pocket of the groove, oh, it is magical. It is delicious. It is amazing, right? So, what makes a great horn section? There are many aspects to this. First of all of the horn players, have to have strong fundamentals on their instrument, right? If you're a brass player, having strong fundamentals in your tone and your flexibility, in your tonguing and articulation, and your fingerings, and your air support, right? And, for woodwind instruments, of course, with your embouchure and your technique, right? Fingering technique and your air support, right? All of those things are very important. And on top of that, when you're playing in the style of, groove music, whether it's funk, soul, R&B, right? It's also about having that soul singing through the instrument on any instrument you play. But when you're playing a saxophone or a trumpet or a trombone, when you're singing through that instrument, when you're playing those horn section lines, whatever it is, right? If you have that soul behind it, oh, it's going to speak so much harder. It's going to impact the audience so much more, right? So, those are super important aspects. And then, of course, all of the horn players playing the line together. So it's really cohesive, right? Locking in with that pocket of the rhythm section. When you have all of that, right, then, of course, comes the lead voice, which is the singer, right? It could be just one singer. It could be a singer with some backup vocalists, right? It could be a talk box or a vocoder, right? But the lead voice, the singer, then has this, atmosphere and the support from the musicians to really be able to sing the song with so much power and intention and love and emotion, so that the entire picture will then translate to entertaining the crowd, emotionally impacting the crowd, and connecting with them and making it this awesome, fun dance party environment, right? So I know that's a lot of information, but when you break it down and you can understand the elements that create great groove music, oh, it's such a powerful force of nature. It's such a powerful force that really can brighten up people's day when they want to go out and hear good live music, right? So, that's one aspect of it. The other aspect that's super, super important when we're talking about performing groove music is stage presence from every single member on stage, right? It's about moving to the groove, right? If you want the crowd to dance, you need to be moving your body and dancing, right? And, if you're playing your instrument, you don't need to be dancing like a dancer, but, just a little bit of a shoulder movement, a little bit of body moving back and forth. If you're a horn player, something we love to do is kind of go side to side, bob up and down. These kind of things are going to really help create that party groove atmosphere, right? And it also comes in the facial expression. It also comes in the way that musicians are looking at each other and communicating with each other and connecting with each other on stage. Stage presence is huge. And for the lead vocalist and even background vocalists, right, it's super important to have that very strong stage presence. I mean, probably, the focal point of the whole, right? And this comes to what's called being a front man or front woman, right? If you are singing lead in a groove-based band, whether it's smooth soul R&B or super upbeat funk or drum and bass, whatever it is, right? It's about leading the way, not only with your singing, not only with your rapping, if it's rap, but with your stage presence, right? And that comes to movement. That comes to interacting with the audience. A huge, great thing to do when you are the front man or front woman of a group is call and response with the crowd. It could be a chant. It could be singing a phrase and having them sing a phrase back, right? It could be, as far as what some greats like Jacob Collier do by creating the audience choir. I mean, there are so many unlimited possibilities. But being a front man or a front woman, it's super important to connect with the audience in a very direct way. And that creates more of an element of fun as well, right? The crowd loves to listen to the music, but when they can be a part of the music, that's super fun, right? So, these are many different aspects of putting on a great show in a live band context. And that's all in terms of the music and the stage presence. But the next thing I want to talk about that's super important is what is your look on stage? What are you wearing? What accessories do you have? If you're a woman, maybe there's a certain way that you do your makeup as an artist or as a performer versus if you're doing it, regular day to day, for it to be something that is unique to you and your expression of who you are, as a soul, who you are as an artist, who you are as a creator, right? I feel like it's super important to express who you are through what you wear on stage, right? I'll give you an example. When I'm on stage, I'm a singer. I also play some instruments like the keys and the trumpet. But when I'm on stage, I love to wear these. These are my red little sunglasses. I found them by a little, spot by the beach. And, when I go to perform, I play a lot of funk and soul music. I love to wear these shades because they kind of help define who I am as an artist. And when people see me perform, they know me as, the singer, trumpet player, keyboard player that wears the red shades, right? Jason Faust. This is just one example. I mean, there are so many examples out there. Uh, you look at someone like Prince back in the 80s and what he's wearing. I mean, it's absolutely wild and wonderful, right? It's super important to express, your creativity through your, aesthetic visually as well. So, with all of that being said, it's such a fun craft to develop is, performing groove music. It's so awesome and so powerful. And I want to come back to the root of why groove music is so powerful. And it comes back to that pulse we were talking about before, right? That steadiness, right? It's because the reason that so many people gravitate towards groove and groove music and why it's such a popular thing these days that so many people love is because the universe has a groove, right? I'm going to break this down and talk about it, right? It all comes down to the flow of energy, right? In this reality that we live in other higher vibrational realities that exist beyond 3D that we've talked about before, right? There is a groove that exists within this universe and other universes. How cool is that? Now, when we're talking about the groove of the universe, you can ask yourself, what does that mean? You can think about the flow of life and the pacing of life and patterns that exist in many aspects of your life, right? For example, schedule has a groove to it, right? You might, go to a class 3 times a week. You might have an appointment once a week or once a month. Or you might perform at this venue once a week. Or you might perform with your, scheduling is one aspect of something that has a groove, a consistent pattern, right? Um, It can also come down to emotions. You know, our energy changes every day. And one day we might be feeling more joyful, another day we might be feeling more sadness or more anger, whatever it may be, right? But there's a flow and a rhythm to our emotions. There's a flow and a rhythm to our mental state. There's a flow and a rhythm to the plants that grow on the earth. I mean, the list is endless. But when we can tune in and tap in to this groove and flow and energy of the universe, whether it's through meditation, whether it's through us in doing something that we enjoy, spending time in nature, the list goes on, we can really express our creativity in a beautiful way, right? So I really encourage you to take some time to, again, in whatever way that works for you, whether it's meditating, whether it is doing something you enjoy, try to find a way to connect with yourself and with the intention of, tapping into the groove of the universe. And when we can tap into the groove of the universe and the flow of our own energy, it really brings us into a high vibrational state where we're able to perform our music in a grounded state, expressing from our heart and connecting with people and entertaining them in a really beautiful way. People can feel that, you know. A lot of the times it might feel, one might feel nervous before they go on and perform, and that's okay and normal. But when we can connect with the groove of the universe, and then we go and perform right after we connect, there's going to be a huge difference in the way that you feel and a huge difference in the way that the audience feels. So, you know, it all comes down to this polarity as well, because we live in a duality. We live in a existence that has positive and negative, right? Which creates this tension and release from a cosmic perspective. And when we live in this reality of duality, it's about coming to that neutrality, right? Because if we're, too much in the positive realm, or we're too much in the negative realm, we're unbalanced. What's a balanced electrical charge? A neutral charge, right? So in order to come to that neutral state, it's about connecting to the groove of your own flow and your own universe within inside of you, right? And that's where the fun really begins, honestly. The next question that we can ask ourselves is, why do we do what we do, right? And connecting with your own inner universal groove within yourself will help you to be able to decipher this question. Why do we do what we do? And when we ask ourselves that question, it all comes down to one word: purpose, right? What is our greater purpose in this existence that we've chosen to exist in, right? We've chosen to incarnate into this lifetime. We've chosen to incarnate into this reality for a reason. Our soul, our higher self, has chosen for us to incarnate into this body at this time with this family, in this place that we live. We were, all of these aspects of what makes up the physical version, right, of us was chosen before we incarnated, right? And including all those aspects is our purpose, right? We all come to planet Earth with a purpose. And once we fulfill that purpose, we leave planet Earth and we choose to come back or not, right? So, coming back to the question of why do we do what we do? The more that we can define this purpose of why we do what we do, the more we're going to be able to fulfill that objective and purpose that we intended on fulfilling before we incarnated, right? So, when we can bring this into the context of music, right? Because here at the Musical Transformation Seminar, I want to reiterate that it's my goal to assist you in becoming the greatest musical version of yourself. And in order to become the greatest musical version of yourself, it's about evolving yourself as a human being, evolving your soul, right? And this is a step-by-step process. There's no, timeline. It is an infinite timeline. But when we take this into the context of music, and for those of us that have chosen the purpose to, express creatively through music, it comes down to, why do people love to connect with music? Whether they're playing or singing it, whether they're creating it, or whether they're just listening to it and enjoying it, right? When we can decipher that question, that will help us define what our unique and individual purpose is, right? So, with all that being said, it all comes back to the greater purpose. It all comes back to connecting with the groove of your own universe, right? And it all comes down to just coming back to that enjoyment aspect of music and life, right? So, next time you're out and performing, you know, please try this if you'd like, and let me know, how it went for you. I'd love to hear about your experiences. So, groove music is such a powerful force. It's such a wonderful thing in the world, right? That is so just great to cherish and craft and develop and evolve. So, again, this is the Musical Transformation Seminar. I'm Jason Faust. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please feel free to like and subscribe to this channel so that you can, gain more tools, tips, tricks, insights on becoming the greatest musical version of yourself. I'm also giving out a free sample pack. It's a Vintage Soul Keys sample pack. I'll put the link to it here in the description. I'll also put the link in the description to the Musical Transformation Seminar if you'd like to subscribe to our newsletter. And finally, I have some really exciting news from my end, something that I'd love to share with all of you. I'm releasing my first single actually tomorrow. Here in Spain, it's almost 10 p.m. And tomorrow, November 1st, I'm going to be releasing my first single. It's called Make a Choice. My first single as a solo artist, and it's about making empowering choices for our path in order to evolve into a greater version of ourselves, right? I've shared this in earlier videos. The power of choice is absolutely infinite. And we come to this crossroads as to which path we want to take. And a lot of the time, the harder choice to make, the choice that feels less familiar and a little bit maybe sometimes more uncomfortable, is the choice to make, because it's going to be that choice that then propels us and moves us forward to be able to expand our consciousness. And that's what the song is about. So I'm also going to link that song as well here in the description, the pre-save link for the song. And I hope you really get a chance to check it out. And I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll see you for the next one. And stay grooving. Ciao.